Good evening, everybody. It's Leah and Ryan from FeathersleepPigeonAuctions.com. Sorry for the delay, guys. We're having a few technical difficulties, but we're ready to rock here now. Ryan, would you like to introduce our special guest this evening?
Leah, before I introduce the guests, to let the people get tuned into the show, I am going to have to leave working for Feathers Elite if we just can't get on a better schedule here. With
I
all this
know.
technical difficulty, it's just, I feel bad for the people, but you know what? I feel worse for me. I'm supposed to go to a party tonight. I got the limo
Oh,
sitting outside.
oh, sure. All
But
right.
anyways, you know what? Enough of my shit. We're
Yeah,
gonna bring
let's.
the man from Nova Scotia on. He is an excellent pigeon ambassador for the world, but for Canada. I mean, he's flown in big competition, small competition. He loves flying pigeons. He'll have pigeons, I think, to the day he dies. And he's a master of breeding of a type of eye sign. He can look at pedigrees, put them together, and I'm telling you, Leah, when he puts them together, they're chiseled out of steel. Leah, do you want to introduce him, or do you want me to say the name?
Who are we talking about? Our good friend Dave Ottaway is in the house to answer your questions this evening on all 15 incredible lots featured in his auction this week on FeathersElitePigeonAuctions.com. Dave, welcome.
Hello, how are you and how's everybody else? Thank you very much for your kind words, Ryan.
Well, I'm just speaking the truth, Dave. I mean, hey, you know how to fly a good pigeon, and I think anywhere you would go, you would find your way up to the top. You know, you might not win every race, but you'll be right up there. Again, sort of talking with guys like Dan Gagoric flying in little old Thunder Bay. Not much competition, but you know he's real dedicated to what he does, and he goes down to the GHC and he can make it up to the top. And I think that's just good pigeon men. You know what you want to do, and you have the work ethic and the drive to do it. And I think no matter where you would fly on this big ball of earth, you'd find your way up to the top. And thanks for joining us tonight. How is the beautiful weather in Nova Scotia, Dave?
Well, summer's gone, that's for sure. Most of the leaves are down. We've had frost for about a week now, and it gets down below zero at night. But other than that, the nice sunny days, bit of rain, but that's par for the course here. We have great weather right through to December or January.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but back to the pigeons here. Basically, you spoke about Dan and a few other people, but I want everybody to realize that the birds that I've offered up for auction here through Feathers Elite, they are pigeons that were cultivated on the Up North Combine, the largest combine in Canada. These a lot of the stock birds are from birds that I cultivated off the Up North Combine and brought to Nova Scotia. Those pigeons immediately jumped 50 miles of open water, the Bay of Fundy, which I was concerned about, and won. Now, I know people think that maybe we're small potatoes out here, but what they got to realize is the terrain. If anybody was following my videos that I did all season for trying to help the new guys with training and whatnot, you've seen the type of terrain and the races, especially the last one that I drove to in Cape Breton and in the mountains, and the type of headwinds and everything we get every week. It cultivates a very tough pigeon. Now, the East Coast pigeons in Ontario, they have a headwind, but it's flat. We have the headwind even stronger, but they have to go over mountains and they have to cross large bodies of water. It gets rid of the dummies. It keeps the quality pigeons under control. We don't have a shipping limit. Everybody here ships 60, 80, 100 pigeons. So we're shipping 300, 400 pigeons a week. That's the same size as the Up North Combine B program, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It
that
is.
is.
If you
Yep.
follow it. So we have birdage, we have headwinds every week, we have mountains, we have a lot of heavy bodies of water for these birds to cross. Now, what that does is a regular 300 mile race here is easily a 450, closer to a 5 on the Up North Combine, unless you get an equal headwind there. but the good pigeons always come to the top. And the fellas out here have picked up their socks quite a bit. I've spread some of my birds around. I've trained them how to look after their pigeons and feed and train, and they're a very competitive group out here now. Now, I could take 3 of the guys from out here, send them to Ontario, set about pigeon loss there, and they would compete in the upper combine, no problem. So, these birds are not winning against chumps. These birds are winning against guys that I've trained that beat me with my own pigeons. And they're, it's a good show out here. We're really improving.
Yeah, and to say, Dave, since you've been out there, I know you've sent us birds, myself and my dad, to fly in our one loft races, the trifecta, and this Pioneer, for example. And again, you were excellent in that trifecta. You had a bird that it was a real good pigeon. We took it into the board and bond race. I think the bird was in the top 7 pigeons in that open race. We had the Creator Black Widow bird this year that was here. It had 2 or 3 really good races. It peaked itself. But again, you can see the quality. And again, congratulations, in flying in these one loft races like the Dutch Touch, where everyone that was in it, the bird was 150 or 200 birds or 400 birds that started at the final race. Doesn't matter how many you say it, the cream rises to the top, and you were there again. And congratulations on even in the Salem race, you had helped out. There was somebody there that you had helped out because I had seen some posts, and the birds were kept coming, and they were off of your birds.
Yeah, there was Blue Star Loft and F&P Loft, 2 different lofts. The one that Blue Star Loft, he won the first race. Both parents were bred by myself and sold to a friend of mine, the guy, in Ontario. And the F&P Loft, the bird that won the next week, I think it was equal first, third, or something like that. The father came from my loft. Now, these are pigeons that are related to the birds in the auction. They're not unrelated pigeons. And you spoke about the trifecta, that cock that won the average speed. Well, lot number 6 is half brother, same father.
They feel a lot alike, Dave.
Yeah, and these pigeons, they don't let me down. And it's not just me winning with them. There's other people out there winning with them as well. There's more people that I've sent pigeons to Ontario from Nova Scotia in the last 4 or 5 years I've been here. People don't realize how many guys are flying my pigeons out there and winning with them because they don't want to say, because they don't want their competitors coming to me and getting the same pigeons. That's the thing about pigeon guys. That when they get good blood, a lot of guys want to hide it so nobody can go get the same blood. And this is, I find out more and more through the grapevine where my pigeons end up and what they're doing than a lot of people realize.
Well, I think you're a good pigeon man. You have good stock sense. Before we get into the lots, it was kind of cute, and I mentioned it yesterday on the show, talking with Peter and Ian Verace, and we were talking with them, and Ian, he's young, he's in his early 19 or 20, and he said, Ryan, is it really true that a lot of North Americans, they just don't believe in eyesight? And I said, well, I think it's true. I mean, like, they don't use eye sign. They don't, and I said, well, what do you think, Peter and Ian? And they're, literally every Belgian uses eye sign. You show us a super pigeon, they got a super eye. And I said, well, I think a lot of the people here in North America, because it's a lower, we're new pigeon world, right? I don't think people know how to breed for an eye sign. Now, what do you think about eye sign, Dave?
Well, what it is, there's a select group of guys in Canada, more of them in Ontario, because there's more of a populace of pigeon flyers in Ontario, that breed by eye sign. And the eye sign enthusiasts all know each other because we do talk. What it is, it's like I've been studying eye sign for 45 years. I mean, it goes back to high school with a fellow named John Pfeiffer, who's, God rest his soul, he's passed away. And John and I used to spend lunch hours in his pigeon coop when I went to high school and study the eyes. And we all started out on Bishop's book, and then we went to Fleming, and then over the years we developed our own theory based on some of these top eye sign guys. And I've come up with a system for pairing eyes. And it's not so much to do with the iris color. It's got to do with the texture of the iris and the ring around the pupil. There's different signs in there that I look for breeders and for racers, and making a combination of them. And my percentages of winning, I attribute to a lot to the eye sign. And you mentioned before, like, my birds are always got lots of eye sign. Well, that's because I breed for it. But it's not the end all. The pigeon has to have the body, the muscle, the skeletal structure, and it has to have the performance. So, excuse me. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a combination. Eye sign's one of 6 things. And I apply everything, all the methods, the wing, the muscle, the bone, the skeletal structure, the buoyancy, the eye. Those are the things that I combine to breed the pigeons that I fly. And it's helped me become very consistent over the years and win a lot of races. I don't win everything, because you can't, but I win more than my share.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back, I mean, we could start to talk about some of the birds, but I know a bird that we wanted to talk about tonight. I believe it was lot number 2, Mr. Hollywood. I look at this pigeon's eye, and it's a striking eye. It's real nice. It's rich. I am not an expert. I am not like you. I think I'm still learning in eyes, but it to me is just a super eye. I love it. It just draws me to it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. His eye is fantastic breeding eye. It's an inbred pigeon. Now, my foundation cock, 498. Okay, he's down off of 71, the slate cock. If you look in the pedigree section and click on the bird, you'll see 498 in there. Now, These pigeons are my foundation pigeons at 498. This is his son, mated to his best granddaughter. And this pigeon is bred to breed winners. If you look at the pedigree, you can see that. And it's got the inbred, the President line, and Hollywood. Yes, these are old lines. But you know what? Just because they're not the flavor of the day doesn't mean they lose their value. These pigeons still win year in, year out, 10, 12 years later, 15 years later, from when Janice first brought them into the country. People are still winning with them all over. And I take a lot of correspondence from guys in the States that still maintain the bloodlines like I do. And, and they're very impressed, with the quality of the pigeons. So don't let that pigeon fool you. That pigeon did come out with a little bit of an open vent, only because it's inbred. If you breed it to a tight-netted pigeon, it's gonna eliminate that problem. But it's the gene pool, the package on that pigeon, that is going to make better pigeons for anybody that gets that breed.
And that is lot number 2 that we're talking about. I don't know if you guys can see, but I did throw up the photo of lot number 2, band number 294, which is Mr. Hollywood. We do have a question from the audience. Joseph is asking, what about birds with a bull eye?
Oh, those are tricky.
Bull eye, you just read them the same as you would read a normal eye, but you need a brighter light. That's the only you need. I use a 10 power, 1-inch eye loop. Okay, jeweler's glass. I don't like 12 power because if you when you move it, it distorts the picture too easily. No bigger than a 10 power eye loop with a 1-inch diameter.
Right.
And the whole secret is you got to take them out into the bright sun, or you got to use a 100-watt bulb. You got to use it to read them, but you read them. Yes, that's it there. That's not a 1-inch. That's a 1/2-inch lens. But
hold on.
There you go. So I use the one on the left with that one there, and it's 10 power. You don't need 12, 15, 20 because it's too hard to focus. 10 power. And if you look at the mother of lot 2 in the photograph section, you can see how dark her eye is. I put so much bright light on that eye, and you can just barely see it. It's so dark. Those are good eyes. Those are breeder eyes. That hen I never raced for a reason, because she has a breeding eye. And I paired her back to her grandfather, which is one of my foundation cocks. So whoever buys lot 2 is going to get a hell of a good breeding pigeon. And you can cross that stuff with anything, and it's going to produce winners. Right up to 450 miles, no problem.
And Dave, Leah, well, you don't have another question, but I'm looking here at the sire, the 498 cock. He has got a tremendous eye, but the son almost has the identical eye, just in a different color.
Correct.
Or
Correct.
Mr. Hollywood. That's right. Just
Yeah.
looking at it, they look almost identical. That thickness in the ring, you see it, but it's taken over from the mother's, the eye, the coloring.
Correct. Yeah, the color has lightened out from the mother's eye to a midway eye between her and the father, but the basic eye sign on the pigeon is identical to the father almost. It's just a different texture, but the circle, all the things within the ring are excellent. That's a breeding eye, and it's going to breed winners when you cross it out.
He's definitely excellent. And the feather quality on him, yeah, vent bone's a little bit old, but a real nice pigeon, solid pigeon. And again, guys, Dave's letting you know, take it home. It's meant to breed. Breed it. It's going to fire. And again, Dave, looking back at all the Gannus birds in your bloodlines that you've maintained, I always say I think that was the era of those Gannus birds where it was the very best of his pigeons.
This family of pigeons that I've cultivated from Mike Gannus, and I have the Gurnix, I have the Gladiators, I have all that blood too. But what I do is I cross this old line Gannus blood into the new line Gannus. I've got Wolverine blood here. I've just acquired that stuff. That's so I'm still proving it. But I'm finding now, you take this old line Gannus stuff and you cross it with the new line Gannus or any of the new line imports, and there's an automatic firecracker in it, and it works. But see, these are the best pigeons that Mike had before he went to one lot racing, right? And that's when he made the switch. He sold off all the main breeders, the President, the Super Champ, and all them. Black Widow Hen. He sold off all those, and then he went into buying one lot winners, and we all know him now for one lot racing. But at one time, these were his mainstay. And I've stayed with them, and I've also acquired his new line bloods, and I'm crossing them together, and they're working. They're hitting very well.
Excellent. We have another question from Alfred, Combe Van Zoren Racing Pigeons, your fellow auction partner this week. And Alfred asks,
hello,
Dave, how do you select the youngsters after the racing season?
Well, everything in my loft is selected by performance. The very first thing I look at is their race record. And that's basically, I breed a type of pigeon almost the same. They all kind of handle the same. I have a little more bone on my pigeons, a little more keel, but I always want a wrap of muscle. It's got to have a big wrap of muscle. It's got to have soft, silky feathers that feels like the pigeon feels wet in your hand. That's all got to be bred naturally into them. And then when you add your oils and stuff for conditioning, it even gets silkier. But its performance is number one. The ones that I know that should fire as a young bird, if they haven't fired, they're removed. The ones that did fire the best and showed some sign, then I keep them. The ones that are bred for longer distance racing, I know they're not going to fire as a young bird. As long as they come steady, 20 minutes, a half an hour behind every week, I know that pigeon's going to fire when it matures in another year or year and a half. So the long distance pigeons, as long as they're consistent, I keep them. The ones that should be firing when they're firing get to stay. The ones that don't fire when they should be firing go. So it's based on performance and knowing your own bloodlines.
Right.
Very good.
Excellent. I know another pigeon that we wanted to speak about in the sale, Dave, I know you wanted to talk about, is lot number 6. And I'm going to throw it up here. There we go. Lot number 6, which is 299 East Coaster. Dave, I know you wanted to mention a few things about this lot in your sale.
Yes. That pigeon there, we, as Ryan mentioned, and as we mentioned earlier, on the father's side, that pigeon's down. His father is bred from a double grandson of the president, Super Crack 699, which is the what's that pigeon, the money pigeon that Mike had before Venezuela one.
Sherbet.
The father is the Sherbet line, and also on the mother's side of the father is his mother was a double granddaughter of the president. top pigeons. Basic Jansen and Sujan's blood is what it is: speed and endurance. Now, the father or the mother of this pigeon, lot number 6, is a Van Loon hen. It's the 954 Van Loon, which was Van Loon's foundation, one of his foundation breeders, not the only one, but it was one of his national winners. That blood is heavy in this cock. And then you've got the Super 73 and some of the other Van Loon blood, call it the USA Van Loons, Super 73 Van Loon in there too. So basically, it's a Jansen Van Loon cross with about 25% Sujans in there. And this cock here really caught my eye from the day I weaned it out of the nest. But I found him when he was a little bit keely in the beginning. So, but I knew he was going to fill out and pop. And sure enough, once he got some age on him, he popped. This blood here will crush any 380 mile young bird race, no problem, on a one lofter. That's what this blood is for. And his brother was a one lofter. Plus I bred other one lofters out of that blood. Also, the mother of this pigeon has bred 3 first place winners. She bred champion bird in the club in young birds last year. She raced 4th champion bird in old birds this year as a yearling. I put her in the stock lot because there's too much consistency there. And, that's the kind of thing. Based on performance, these pigeons are in this auction and in my stock lot as well.
And, another interesting thing, looking at the back of the pedigree, I know you guys see the front, but again, if you look, and what I like, Dave, is you put the sire and the dam's eye sign up, and you see how you've mixed it, you've matched it, and then you look at the youngster that came out, the eye is super. I mean, the parents have, the father, oh my God. That's like going to Tiffany's,
Yes. Yeah, that's the cock there. That's the double Super Crack 699 and double President. Mm-hmm. And I bought this cock about 4 years ago. And, I don't mind saying what I paid for. I paid $900 for that cock. And it was the best $900 I ever spent on that cock. And from the first year I bred him, I bred winners. Well, the first year I bred him, we bred the trifecta cock and others. Excuse me. I've got probably 6 youngsters off of this cock in the stock lot because he's getting old.
Nice.
And the hen, you can see the eye on the hen. She's got a deadly eye, and this hen here has bred me excellent pigeons. She comes down from my old green-eyed cock that I gave Bill Wema, and I bought a cock at Bill Wema's sale, and it was off of the green-eyed cock, paired to a Van Loon hen that he imported from Belgium that was inbred the 954 line as well. So that's where the Van Loon line comes from on this lot's mother. It's the old green-eyed 954 Van Loon.
Yeah, I seen that bird up at Bill's. It was you see the eye from 60 miles away. Beautiful.
Yeah,
real piercing.
I bred him from a pigeon that Tony Alves brought in and Mike Gannis brought in from the Hustler and the Iron Lady and all that line. Yeah. And I put that on a hen that I bought from Beaver Dam still, a hen called Marion. She bred over 15 first place winners. And she was also the 954 Van Loon line. So I crossed the stuff that Tony and Elvis brought in onto the hen from Beaver Dam. And that's what's my mainstay at 800 miles or 500 kilometers and up. And they've won a lot of opens too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, good. I'm done.
Okay. I have a question from Dan Gregoric. Dan asks, Dave, you have had so much success flying combine races and one loft races. Do you believe the birds are a different type? That's a great question.
That's a very good question, Dan. Until I got into one loft racing, which has only been in the last 2 or 3 years, I was of the opinion that you needed a special pigeon for one loft racing. But you know what? The same pigeons that I won with in the Up North Combine that I'm winning with out here on this headwind course over this rough terrain are the same pigeons that won me the Dutch Touch, the same pigeons that were clocked in the trifecta, and the same pigeons that were clocked at Salem this year for those two other fellows. So now that I'm participating and using the same pigeons, I say there's no difference between a good club combine pigeon to a one lot. They're the same pigeon. Good birds are good birds are good birds. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
I know we also wanted to talk about a couple of the couples or the pairs that we have featured in your auction. Let's start with couple number 1, which is your lot number 11. And Dave, question for you. Why did you pick these two pigeons to pair together? What is your reasoning behind it? Maybe you could tell the people.
Sure. Let's start with the black pigeons in the auction, the cock. The cock is a lot, and then his full sister is lot number 12, and another full sister is lot number 9. All three of those pigeons are full brothers and sisters. Lot number 9 and the other two blacks are full brothers and sisters. Now, this black lot, the cock himself, is very heavy on the black widow, and his mother was really, really heavy black widow I got from Stan out west, Stan Gal. And the mother is a triple granddaughter of the 525 cock from Stan, which is right out of black widow hen from Germany, the national champion of Germany, when paired to her father's full brother. So that bloodline there has been winning for me since 2010 when I got the first son of Stan's 525. And when Stan tells me that blood's winning big time out in British Columbia, over the mountain ranges, they fly there, and it was winning big time for me in the Up North Combine. I won the yearling Derby, first and second, with a full brother and sister, down from the same blood that's in this cock. Now the hen, the hen is half Sujan's. Excuse me, I'm getting a dry throat here. I need a drink. I'm drinking water.
Okay. Are you drinking water, Ryan? I doubt it.
Leah, you know what I drink.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so the hen, her mother was from Terry Humberstone from Skyway Loss, and it's the Sujan's pigeons. And we all know the Sujan's that Terry Humberstone has had that he brought in. And Joss Sujan's went out of pigeons in 1990, and only a select group of people got his pigeons. And Gernix was one of them. Gernix lived 100 yards from Joss Sujan's. I got a videotape, and so the base of Gernix pigeons are these Sujan's, the same Sujan's that's in this hen right here, right? Her mother from Terry Humberstone. And that was that Sabre secret line that he brought in with other birds. Well, he got it from another guy that brought it in Ontario. I forget the fellow's name, an Irish fellow. But anyways, long story short, that Sujan's blood has been winning for eons. It's also the back of a lot of good pigeons for Guido Madruzen and a whole lot of other people that don't even say. Now, the father to this pigeon is down from 498, again, related to lot number 2. The father to this pigeon has bred multiple winners. Let me just click on the pedigree here because I can't remember all the numbers anymore. I'm getting too damn old. Hang on. I'm coming. Oh, yeah. No, I just wrecked it.
Don't worry. He had some super results, that pigeon, in the Up North Combine for you.
Yeah. I got to make it bigger. So.
Don't worry. As we say, when we click the wrong button, we just recalculate. Guys, if you're watching, now is your time. Right now, Dave, it's okay, guys. While you're watching, I want you now, Dan and the guys, get some Skinny Pop popcorn. You're going to help lose weight. It's going to feel great. Don't worry. Whenever, Dave, you're ready, just fire away again.
Yeah. Okay. 371. There we go. I could remember his number. See, I'm going to be 67 next month, and I'm starting to get cheating in here. Thank God for my Hawkeye pedigree program because I put everything in that so I don't have to remember. But that cock there is right out of 498 as well, and he's bred multiple winners. And his son is one of my foundation cocks who was paired to the mother of that lot that we talked about earlier from the trifecta cock. So my birds are all related in one direction or another. And all I do is just mix the bloodlines.
Right.
So that's a heavy black widow pigeon onto Hollywood and Sugans. And I don't mate for bloodlines. I mate for type. When I put pigeons together, I go by short, middle distance, or long distance, fast or slow. I don't care if it's a Science, Stasser, a Jansen, a Brico, a Delbar. I don't look at that. I look at type. And that's how I breed my pigeons, all by type. And that way, I have consistent birds for the short, fast races, for the middle distance, and for the long distance, because I breed for type.
I have another question here, Dave, that I'm just going to ask from Eldon. Eldon is asking, hey, Dave, what's your feeding strategy been like? Old bird versus young bird racers?
You know something? It's not rocket science. I feed exactly the same food in the same way. I fly double widowhood. I breed my young birds early. I separate the sexes. I put hens in one section, cocks in the other. I mix my young hens with my old hens, my young cocks with my old cocks in nest boxes, and I fly double widowhood. Everything's always flown double widowhood. I don't use widowhood feed. I use commercial feed, Versalega. I use Versalega feed from Ryan, and it works really well, and with the black corn in it. And all I do is just measure the food according to their body weight. I don't feed special seeds. I add oils to the feed, omega-3s, yeast for B12, that type of thing. But young birds and old birds, widowhood or natural, are all fed the same on the same food. And they still win. So it boils down to consistency and a proper program, but it boils down to blood and good pigeons is what it boils down to. One year I won, 7 combines in the Up North Combine, and I won best bird. I won champion loft in Canada, long distance champion bird in Canada, and overall champion. Guess what I was feeding? I was feeding winter mix with a bunch of breedy mix and racing mix that I had left over. I made a big barrel of it. Winter mix with racing mix, and I fed that to my racers, and I had those kind of results. So as long as you have good mixed grain and you have a decent program and good pigeons, the whole secret is good pigeons. They'll come.
Right. We have another question from Alfred Van Zorn, and this is probably a question for both of Ryan and Dave. He's asking, can you compare flying in Canada like in Holland, or is there a lot of difference? So I think what he's asking is, what's the difference between Canada and Holland in racing?
I don't.
Okay.
Not,
I'll take a run at it.
You take a run
I've never
at it, Dave.
I know what racing in Canada and USA, and I know Taiwan because I've been selling pigeons to Taiwan for 12 years, and my birds do good there. From what I understand, in Holland and even in Belgium, they do more loft flying. In North America, we do a lot of road training. Some guys in North America only loft fly as well. I've always been a hard road trainer. I was born and bred that way. My birds will be trained 150 to 180 miles a week. I fly these pigeons 11 weeks in a row, back to back, on a headwind course, right out to 300 miles and 350 miles on a headwind course, 11 weeks in a row. They don't miss a race. So I know they ship every week in Holland as well and in Belgium, but they don't do as much road training. Now, there's a few guys there that are starting to do more road training, and their results are showing it. So it's whether you've got the time and the ability to road train. I like road training because it teaches the pigeon to bust out of the basket and fly home quick.
And I know, Dave, with these auction birds, they had all been trained out to 50 miles, correct? At least 3 times, right?
Yes, they've got about 30 tosses on them. Every one of these auctions, I had 34 youngsters, which I had in my videos. I trained them out with my old young birds this year. And every one of these pigeons has got about 30 tosses on it, and they've been out to 50 miles 3 times. So if there was any dummies in the group, they're gone, right? And these birds were roded and trained pretty hard because I wanted to make sure I only sent down the very best pigeons for this auction. Mm-hmm. And I can't say they've been raced and they got terrific race records, but I can say they were trained hard out to 50 miles and they handled it no problem. But their brothers and sisters are the same pigeons that I raced, and I won. What did I win this year? I won 14 races out of 22. I won the champion bird, champion loft, average speed, old and young. I won it all, just like I used to do in the Ottaway Combine for a number of years. So, it's the pigeons and a good system.
Another question from Galib. Galib asks, "Hi Dave, you make pairing with male and female that have the same color eye?"
Yes, I do it all the time. Everybody says mate opposite eyes together. I do that consciously. I do that. Yeah, oranges and yellows and chestnuts and pearls but I pair pearl eyes and yellow eyes together all the time, as long as there's contrast within the same color. If it's a light pearl, I made it to a dark pearl. If it's a light yellow, I made it to a dark yellow, or an orange to a lighter yellow, or a chestnut to an orange. As long as you have contrast, it doesn't have to be contrast as opposed to pearl and yellow. It can be the same color, but there has to be contrast within the same color. One light, one dark. And I've been doing it that way for years, and it works fine.
Speaking of another couple in your auction, lot number 13, which is couple number 3. Let's put up their photo. Let's talk a little bit about this pairing and why you chose this pairing and what is special about this couple number 3, lot number 13.
All right, number 13. Yes. Okay. So lot number 13 is the cockbird is bred the same way as lot number 1, and there's another lot in here. There's 3 bred the same way, and that's got a lot of the gladiator blood from Gurnix in there, which we all know is a Sujan-based pigeon, and we also know the Sujan-based pigeons were also very very fast because he was Belgium's sprint champion. So I paired this pair together because the hen is 3/4 Staff Van Riet from Mark Caldwell in Great Britain, and Ryan knows him a lot better than I do. So basically what I've done is I've taken the sprint champion based pigeon of Belgium, and I've paired it to the sprint champion of Great Britain, Mark Caldwell. And that's why I put this pair together. Their eyes contrasted well, and they're both very fast pigeons.
She's got a killer eye, this hen, boy. And
yes.
I like how you paired him up. She's smaller than him. She's super buoyant. Just a real nice pigeon.
Yes. Her grandmother was a pigeon that bred the second champion bird of all Canada, Dave's Girl, which was a Staff Van Riet pigeon from R&R Zoniken via Staff Van Riet. And the father of this pigeon was Keith, a direct import from Mark Caldwell via Feathers Elite that I bought at the auction. And this cock, the father of this cock, has bred me some super breeders. The first year I kept them, I bred them for stock because I wanted to build up my Staff Van Riet base. Now this year I started flying them, and they hit really well, very well for a great cross. And I put them onto the gladiator blood simply because of the Sujan's blood that's in the Gurnix pigeons, speed on speed. And these pigeons will go right out to 350 miles as young birds, no problem.
You can see it. I mean, the buoyancy, everything. And again, I don't know. I still believe that when originally Staff Van Riet and Sujan were friends, I believe when he originally, I think, sold the birds to Dean Pallett, he had kept around for himself, but he had went and got Sujan to bring into his blood, and I think they crossed very well. I know talking to Mark Caldwell, getting back to Sugin, he actually, I think, almost believed that the Sugins may have even been better than the Van Reets. Because I know Tony Martin, he had them both. He had both families. So
Yeah,
I think it's an excellent cross.
yes, definitely. Whoever gets this pair of pigeons is going to have a very good outcome with the youngsters. There's enough toughness in them that they can do right out, like I said, 350 as young birds. They're going to be fast developers. He's got a little more keel to him. That line of gladiator pigeon does have a little more bone, but lots of muscle. And she doesn't have the bone, but she's got a ton of muscle. So they complement each other. They're going to be good. I know it in my blood they're going to be good.
Leah, before you fire that question, and Dave, I like how you put that, a little more keel, a little more bone. I kind of like how you word that. Sometimes you're looking for words you're doing these shows and you don't know how to explain a pigeon, but I kind of get that. I like how you worded that. So I'm taking that one from you, and you see me use it again. A little more keel, a little more bone. Go ahead, Leah. You had a question, I think?
Yes, Alden has another question. He says, hey, Dave, another question. Based on your experience, what would you say are the best racing pigeon bloodlines in the world? What's been your first, second, and third best bloodlines since you started in the hobby?
Well, good question.
That's a thick question. There's
Yeah.
a lot of bone on that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of bone on that one. Well, I had the Smolders Jansons for 20 years, and they burned up the Up North Combine and that's where I made my name with Smolders Jansen. So I love the Jansen pigeons. Who doesn't? Mm-hmm. I love the long distance type pigeons, the old Catrice, the Van Wanrooys, and now I've got the Chris Hybrecht pigeons in from Jempe and his national pigeon. And I bought both of them through Feathers Elite as well, and they bred super for me. And that's actually the next lot is that blood. Let me see which one it is here. Lot number 12, that checker cock. That cock is for 500 to 800 kilometer racing. Okay, that's all Hybrechts, and what's 25% Uno from Verstraete. And then the other 3/4 is basically Chris Hybrecht's blood from Jempe and his National One pigeon. So I put that onto the Black Widow pigeons because the Black Widow hen there, that stuff there is really tough at 300, 350 miles. This cock here is very tough from 300 to 500 or 500 to 800 kilometers. So this pair here, number 12, whoever gets that pair is going to have great one lofters for those 350, 380 mile young bird or one loft races, as well as on the club and combine, they're going to fly right out to 800 miles, 800 kilometers or 500 miles. So, so the long distance pigeons, the Jansons, the old lines, and, as far as 1, 2, 3, the third pick would be just good bloody pigeons. It doesn't matter the name or the bloodline. Good pigeons are good pigeons. There's a lot of top flyers in Belgium and Holland, Germany, Canada, USA. Everybody mixes by type. Some people breed for family bloodlines, but the people that breed by type, and I call the winning type, are the guys that got the good pigeons.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, I think to add to that, don't don't pigeonhole yourself on flavors of the month all the time or flavors of the year. There are so many super pigeon men, really good pigeon men out there. Don't be afraid to try something different. Go a different road. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to always say, oh, it's got to be this or this or this, because these are the flavors that everyone's going goo goo gaga over. Because I'll tell you, you go around the world and you will talk about what we here in North America is talk about a flavor. you'll go to Belgium or you go to Holland, and they go, what? That's what? Really? That? And then they fall off their chair laughing, and then the next thing you know, you got to put your cappuccino down, help him up. You don't know if he's going to show you the door, so you go, shit, I won't do that again. But you
No.
know what? Watch out for flavors of the month, flavors of the year. Guys, do your research and look what you like. I know, Dave, you are a type. You're not, and you can see it in your pedigrees. You're not afraid to try different pigeons.
Yes. The so-called strains that people get hooked on, if you look in the back of their pedigrees, even the modern day champions in Belgium and Holland and Germany, read the pedigrees. So most of those guys are pretty honest guys. They write and they put who the pigeons came from. They're all crosses. They're not a bloodline. They're not a strain. The strain makers died in 1930, 40, and 50. After that, people don't breed by that anymore. They cross winners on winners, type to type, middle distance to middle distance type, long distance to long distance type, sprint to sprint type. And that's how I breed my pigeons. I used to be like that. Oh, it's got to be pure. Well, there was never a pure to begin with, because those guys all traded pigeons with each other. All the top winners in Belgium and Holland, they all traded birds and bought each other's pigeons. They just adapted their name because they owned it. But it came from the guy down the road. And that's how I breed my pigeons now. I breed by type and not by blood.
Yeah, and it's funny how you say that. It's funny in the North American, where we are here, you've never heard of a real North American strain. I mean, you don't hear it.
Maybe Trenton.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's a bunch of wins there. Simon, Dave, where's your Trentons? Come on, guys. If you have Trentons, put them in the comment below.
They're in the same place I put my Scions.
Yeah. Now, you Scion lovers, don't get on our bandwagon here and upside down us, or you know what I mean. Go ahead, Leah.
I started with Scions. I had Scions from Charlie Heintzman in the U.S. through Sam Marshall. I had them for, 15, 20 years. And then when the speed birds from Belgium and Holland started coming into North America, they just couldn't keep up.
So my question, Dave, is when you bring a breeder in, how long do you give it until you give up on it, basically? Is it a 1 year thing? Is it a 2 year thing? Do you try it with different hens or cocks? What's your cutoff time?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. It's just the same as how do you know you got a good old bird? It has to fly a young bird. It has to fly as a yearling. It has to fly as a 2-year-old for the distance, right? I mean, so It takes 3 years to find your top racers. It takes 3 years to find your top breeders, because good breeders don't always click with each other. Sometimes, some of my top breeders I put with the wrong mate and bred garbage, right? Other ones breed winners no matter what you hit them with. Some birds you got to click them. So it takes at least 3 years, but I want to see when they show me something on the very first year, then I got my eye on them. If they do it again the second year with a different mate, because I switch the mates every year, now I'm starting to get impressed. They do it the third year, now I know it's a good pigeon. Or It's a bad pigeon because I tried it 3 times, 3 years with 3 different mates, and it didn't do nothing.
Right.
And then when I do with it, it goes in and to the garden.
Yeah, to the garden.
It doesn't go in an auction.
Good fertilizer.
Another question I have, because I know, Dave, you have purchased a lot of pigeons off of auction sites. What is the one thing that you look for in selecting a new purchase to bring into your loft?
Well, performance is everything. I look for a performance pedigree, number one. If I don't know the bloodline and I don't know the breeder that well, I look for performance. I don't go past the grandparents. I want at least one grandparent on both sides of the pedigree to be a top breeder, performance breeder, or a top performance racer. Or 3 out of the 4 in grandparents. The parents can be out of those top breeder pigeons and I'll still take a shot at them. So it's performance is number one. Now, with all the photoshopping going on across the world, it's hard to judge a pigeon by the way it stands and the way it looks because it's been altered to look nice. But I look at the eye sign then. And sometimes the guys that take the eye sign shots don't do very good shots, but I know enough about eye sign. Even with a bad eye sign shot, I can tell whether I want the pigeon or not. You do a good eye sign shot there, Ryan. You're all right.
I'm working on that. I'm working my way up. You know what? I'm very good with crayons and
Yeah,
marker, and I'm scribbling and draw. That's all freehand, Dave. It's all
yeah,
freehand.
very good.
Oh yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So basically, I go by performance in the pedigree, and I go by eye sign, and you know that's it. Because if you go by reputation, you're only basing your opinion on a salesman's word because he's promoting what he's selling. That's why when you said, Ryan, the guys in Holland and Belgium, they laugh at us when we talk about strains, and the champion flyers there, some of them we've never heard of because they haven't been promoted and advertised. What you're doing here at Feathers Elite, you guys are bringing in top pigeon guys that nobody's heard about, but they're top pigeon guys. Right. And the only reason why they've never been heard about is because some pigeon merchant, for lack of a better word, hasn't put the advertisement out for them. But I've got a lot of good pigeons from Feathers Elite, and there's some of them the offspring of them are in this auction, and you're doing good. And I've done well with the pigeons that you sell there too.
Because we see here in your lot number 8, Globetrotter. I'll just put that photo up there.
This is a pigeon, Dave.
This is quite something. This pigeon here.
You should see the 3 I got. You should see I got 3. I bred 4 of them, and I took 1 out for the auction, and I kept 3 out of those late breds that I trained. And they're lovely. This cock, actually, this pigeon I thought was a hen for the longest time, and I even put hen on the pedigree, and then just before I shipped it down to you, Ryan, it started spinning, and I thought, oh God, it's a cock. But it's a nice
henny looking cock. He's a real nice pigeon, solid pigeon, buoyant, not overly big, strong, great feather quality. I love the eye sign. And again, it's out of again, guys. If you look at it, Dave is not afraid to go out and try other pigeons, and you see that in this pedigree. And yep. They're nice. I like them. I like this pigeon. I think this is one of the birds of the sale. And same with lot number 5. That's another pigeon. Wow, this pigeon's got such character. It just talks to you. It's like the pigeon has been here. The pigeon owns the room.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart, that Chucker hen. And there's 3 of them bred like her in the auction. One of them's in the couples, the last pair, the cock, and there's another one in the auction out of them as well. And that is, my stable bloodline as well, and they do excellent for me. And like you say, on this lot, the pied pigeon there that was up there earlier, I took 2 top pigeons that I bought from your auction. I paired them together, and the results were beautiful. Just love that pigeon.
And the conformation, what a real nice, just properly put together.
Yes. The pair really the mother and the father, they look good together, and I'm really pleased with the youngsters.
Good.
Yeah. So I've got 3 at home bred just like that one for my yearling race team, and of the late breds that I trained out, and I'm expecting some very good news from them.
I have another question from Galib. Galib asks, what do you think, Dave, is very important? Darkening system for youngsters or no?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You've got to have a system to fly young birds nowadays because everybody's wised up. You've got to be on a darkening or a full light system. You either force the molt on the light system or you darken and you take the feathers off that way. The light system, you do the body and the flight feathers. The dark system, you hold the flight feathers and shed the body and the head and the neck feathers. So no system, no win. You got to have a system, dark or light, no question.
Yeah, the guy's in exactly what he's saying. If you're going to go to the bar, You don't go in ripped pants and sweatpants and a ripped shirt or your greasy work clothes. You put your suit on. You look good when you go out. If you're going to perform, you're going to have a good night out. You want to look good. You can't win without feathers. That's the bottom
That's right.
line. If you have holes in those feathers, every stroke you take, the ones with all the feathers, they just go a little further forward, and you fall a little further behind.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I did a full light system in 1990 to 1994 before Samson put out the light tape. Nobody knew about the light system. And I crushed the Up North Combine 3 years in a row. And everybody couldn't figure out what the hell I was doing with my pigeons. I was using a full light system. And then I went to a darkening system, a natural darkening system, because I don't like closing up the loft. So now I just breed early, 18 hours of light in the stock loft, and I wean the babies over in January, February, and March to the regular outside light. And because the days are short, they molt just like darkies. And then you got to turn the lights on June the 21st when the days start getting shorter, and that will stun the flights from kicking. And
They hold.
I call it the lazy man's darkening system. You don't have to close up the loft; just breed early.
Breed early. Change the water is what he's saying in the winter.
Yeah, yeah. Get water heaters.
Or water heaters. Whatever you want. Whatever works.
One last question for you, Dave. Breeding. When do you start your breeding, and what do you do to prepare for breeding?
Okay, the first thing I do to prepare I start December the 1st because I want early bred young ones because I fly them on double widowhood. And I fly them on the natural darkening system. So you got to breed early for that. If you breed later, you can still fly double widowhood, but you got to put them on the full dark. You got to close the window, the dark on the loft, and you can get away with it. But I like to breed early, and I don't like to close up. When I do to prepare them for, the only medication I give my breeders is a canker treatment before I pair up. That's it. Once a year, the breeders get a canker treatment. Nothing else. No respiratory, no coxine, no nothing. If they ain't naturally healthy, I'm not breeding from them. But the other thing that has to be done is you have to separate your breeders in April and let them go through a full body mold. A pigeon that goes through a full body mold. Yeah. Any pigeon that goes through a full body molt will breed you winners if it's a good pigeon. You try to pair up and breed young ones off a bird that's only halfway through the molt, they'll never breed you a winner because the stress of molting, they feed poorly, the quality of the young ones are down. So number one, a completely molted breeder. Number two, a canker treatment 4 weeks before I pair up once a year. That's it.
You know, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you look at it's so simple. Dave says get them right through that molt. Picture them trying to put feathers on, finishing a molt, laying eggs, driving properly, feeding babies. You know what? You're putting them behind the 8 ball because they got to develop. Everything has to. It goes in a full cycle, and that's a real. I think that's a better tip even than that canker. What you talked about. I just think that's a real good one. I like that one a lot.
All the guys that I've trained in the last 40 years to fly pigeons, I've always stressed to them, don't pair these birds up in the summertime. That's when they got to molt in the heat. But so that's the main thing is a super molt on it. And
Yeah.
what else do we say?
It makes sense. It's common sense. They're through the molt. They're healthy. They got a full suit on. They're ready to go now to the next step.
The other thing, natural immunity. That's the one thing. The canker will get at your breeders by the end of the breeding season if they're pumping youngsters and that. It always hits them, right? Because they get scraped in their throat from pumping the corn. They get scratches, and the canker is going to come out. So that's why I do canker. But I don't do respiratory because my loft is properly ventilated. I don't do coxy because my loft is dry. But canker, you got to do. What else? All the young birds in this auction were hatched in April. They were the last. I called them late breds all summer, but they were actually some people's second round. That's why they're so shiny. They've only got 1 or 2 flights to go. These pigeons
Yeah.
were pairing up in the corner when I sent them to you, Ryan. These
Yeah.
birds are ready to breed in December on this auction. They're ready to breed in December.
I know these birds are older than the ones we were flying in our Pioneer, and they're older than both. I would say 50% of the birds Loft Manager Richard flew. But you breed them early, and I mean they're. If you would have had 4 more races, you wouldn't have taken them to 50 miles. You'd have put them on the race team. You just needed more races, Dave.
You're right. If we had 4 more weeks, they would have been into a couple of races.
That's right.
And just to wrap this up, Dave, for the potential buyers out there, what is the one thing that you want to let them know about you, about your pigeons, and about why these 15 lots are special and why somebody should take a chance on a Dave Ottaway pigeon?
Well, the only thing I can tell you is the reason why you should take a chance on these pigeons is simply because if you look back in the generations and the pedigrees, you'll see winners. And they go back to the grandparents. Some of the birds I just bought that are in the pedigrees, people didn't keep good records. But you'll notice with the pigeons that I've had for a while, this bloodline, my records are accurate. I fill the pedigree. I got a pedigree program. I fill all the information in. So the reason I think why these birds will impact your loft is simply because I bred them on performance, on body, on muscle, on feather, and eye sign. But performance on performance, breeding performance, racing performance, and it's just not a one-shot winner. You see multiple winners on the pedigrees, and that's what I make my decisions on. And these pigeons will impact your loft if you properly train them and condition them. They'll win for you. If you don't properly and can train them and condition them, doesn't matter how good your pigeons are, they won't win if they're not properly handled. So you've got to handle them properly, and they will win.
And just one more thing, Leah, to add to this. In the last, I'd say maybe 3 years or 4 years here, 2 times we've had the pleasure to handle Dave's pigeons. We've never had more than, I believe, 6 pigeons in total that have come through mine and my dad, or Richard's loft, to fly. And they were both with 1 lofts. And both times we had played the pigeons in combine racing against combines and in open races. And out of those 6 pigeons, I will be honest, 2 of the 6, 1 was a super, real damn good. Excellent. Yep. I would have loved to have that pigeon. And the one this year was a good pigeon. You know what? Yeah. It made its little mistake, but it had multiple times where it fired good. And you know what? Out of 6 pigeons that we flew, I have to say, you know what? Dave, anytime you want to send us up some pigeons to fly, there's no problems. Because I know he's got the pigeons that find that way. And, is it because he's an eye sign guy, maybe, or he knows how to put them together, maybe, or the pedigrees. It's all there. It's all in one. I think, Dave, overall, you try and leave no stone unturned.
That's right. And the father to the Dutch Touch winner and the father to the pigeon that you handled there this year, 94, 20094, that flew well at your place this year. The father of both those pigeons are full brothers. Okay, 2 different hens, Black Widow hens on 2 full brothers, and so it's my family that I breed is going to produce winners for you. The pigeons that were clocked at the Salem from those 2 separate lofts, same blood that's in the pigeons on this auction. So it's called depth. I have depth in my loft, and the gene pool comes out.
One final question, because I don't want to leave this out. Eldon just asked, hey Dave, what's your thoughts on imported birds versus birds already in Canada? Are the Canadian racers equally as good as the ones in Europe?
Well, I say yes, they are. Mm-hmm. I say when you buy the imports, I'm gonna be real dead honest with you here. Most imports that I buy don't breed good the first year. The stress of importing the stress of going through the quarantines. You breed them the first year, and they don't breed too good. But if you have patience and you breed them the second and third year, that's when they'll produce. And also, what I do with them, I'll cross them with my own family of pigeons, and immediately there's a fire and they win. Every once in a while, you'll get a real good import that'll breed the first year. I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking imports. I'm just saying the stress of importing deteriorates the quality of the first babies that come out of it the same year that's imported. But if you have patience, your imports will breed winners the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth year. If you look back at my pedigrees, you'll see lots of imports. Okay, so it's not like my pigeons are all Canadian bred. They're all bred from imports, right?
Well, what you're saying is patience, and I agree as well. And pigeon racing is about patience. It's not,
That's right.
you're not going to go out your first year and win all 8 races or 10 races. It takes patience, and you've been doing this, 45 years?
52.
Okay. 52 years. I mean, that's a lot of time, energy, patience, research, learning the hard way. I'm sure a lot of times you've learned the hard way what not to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that this auction is just so great, and the fact that you took the time to put the couples together. I mean, if anybody knows what they're doing, it's somebody who's been doing this for as long as you have.
Yeah, it's. I not only have the time in, I've got the racing record to back it.
That's right.
I was a champion flyer in the Up North. I was one of the top 5 elite flyers in the Up North Combine when it had 150 young bird flyers and 120 old bird flyers. That's how far back I go. It's 1969 I started. But I didn't really start flying good till the 80s because I didn't know what I was doing. But then I got good pigeons and I got taught what to do, and then I started winning. But I've been winning for 40 years and dominating the largest combine in Canada. And when I retired out here, I found that those same pigeons are winning on a headwind course, 11 weeks back to back. I don't spare them. They go every week, 11 weeks in a row on this course. And the terrain is the roughest terrain I've ever seen. And if anybody watched my video of the last race that I drove the trailer on, I tell you, it was scary driving up through those mountains to get to the top of Cape Breton. But these pigeons, they came out of there, and they did well.
And that's why I think this auction is a great auction for maybe buyers who might be hesitant on buying imported pigeons. Some people might think, oh, well, I don't know if I should take the chance on it. That's why I think this auction is perfect for those that may have cold feet in purchasing imports. You've done your homework, you've bought the imports, you've done the pairing, and these are the results. So,
yeah. Just look at my pedigrees. My pedigrees are full of imports. It's just that you got to have patience.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with imports.
Right.
And again, I think on behalf of us here at Feathers Elite, we look at people we want to stand behind them. And I think overall, guys, if you give Dave an opportunity, if you never tried him, give it an opportunity. I think you're going to be very, very pleased with the quality of the pigeons. And I do believe you're going to hit results with these pigeons. I believe the imports, again, if you give it time, you will hit winners with them as well. We do our research. We don't want to just bring anyone in. And you know what? What's great about Dave is, as an ambassador of this hobby, it's great if you purchase a pigeon from him or you don't. You have a question, fire it into Dave. He'll help you out. If the eye sign thing, if it's mind-boggling you know what? Ask Dave. What does this mean? What does this mean in the eye? What does this mean? Dave is going to help you out. And you know what? I thank you, Dave, for participating here with us tonight and through this whole auction experience. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks very much for hosting my birds on your platform. You guys are very professional. The way that you and Leah and your dad, Richard, do things at Feathers Elite. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to represent me and my pigeons. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We want to remind everybody that Dave's auction closes tomorrow, Friday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. There's still lots of time to get on there. Look, do your research, ask Dave some questions. We will be on tomorrow night at 5 with our loft manager picks. In the meantime, please head on over to featherselitepigeonauctions.com. Take a look at the Dave birds. We know you will be more than happy with them. And we want to thank you so much, Dave, for coming on this evening, for answering everybody's questions. I think that's it, Ryan, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. Dave's pretty much summed it all up, guys. Remember, take your time, slow down, don't rush it, don't get upset. Just take your time. And you know what? With this auction, take your time. Trust me, take your time. There will be guaranteed proven good breeders in here, but you have to take your time and you have to do your research. And you know what? We give you time here. Get a hold of Dave, talk to him, ask him. If you want him to pair you up another pair in this auction, he'll do it for you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He knows his pigeon's the best. That's why we brought him on.
So I think that's it. On behalf of Ryan, myself, Dave, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Where do you bid? featherselitepigeonauctions.com. Auction closes tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.